My very favorite movie of all times is Cold Mountain. I saw Cold Mountain the first time when I was about 19. I loved that movie the very first time I saw it, but the way I loved it then and the way I love it now are completely different. Then I was newly married. I had grown up in the inner urban city of Tulsa my entire life. My new husband was a country boy, having living outside the city limits his entire life. We were living in this tiny apartment in town and together dreaming this dream of farm life, not knowing exactly what that meant. Cold Mountain is the story of Ada Monroe, who, at the beginning of the Civil War, finds herself alone on her family farm, dreaming of her beloved, Inman, a man she barely knows, hoping that someday he makes his way back to her. I love that movie and that character so much that our second child is named Ava. I wanted to name her Ava, but Ava was a compromise with my husband. As a homesteader, trying to find my way back to a more natural life, I often think of Ada and the way that things had to be done back then. There was no farm store, there was no money. The country was in the middle of a war. You couldn't just run to town and buy the things you needed. Her and Ruby worked so hard to turn that farm into something that could help them survive. And they did that out of necessity. Through the movie, it goes back and forth. In some scenes, it's Ada and Ruby and what they're doing on the farm. And in some scenes, it's Inman as he fights to get his way back to Ada. You watch Ada grow from this little girl who had her fancy things and loved her city life, to a woman who could take care of herself. I watched this movie a lot when my husband was deployed. It helped me get through a lot of really hard times. But it also helped me feel less pitiful about my situation because, yes, my husband was on this other side of the world, but at least I knew where he was most of the time. At least a good, where he kind of was. At least a few times a week I got to know that he was safe and alive. Ada wrote to Inman for years without getting a letter back, and yet her love for him never failed. If you haven't seen it yet, I highly recommend it. Historical fiction is my very favorite kind of movie, and Cold Mountain throws in a bit of action, adventure, and romance, which makes it great for any couple.